Sarah Sage, here we go. Hello, friends who have asked for a video. So this is my awesome setup. It was not so much of not having the camera angles as having the right equipment to do this. So I had to get creative and figure out how in the world I could pull this off. So, photographic tripod, an excellent bamboo back scratcher, my old iPhone attached to said back scratcher with a rubber band, a bit of an homage, the lamp over there. This lamp is from the Floetrol collection, which won't mean anything to many of you. And there is my pouring box. Welcome to my first pouring video by Designs by Lynn. Today I'm going to be doing acrylic pour painting. We're using a technique that I'll describe in a bit. What I'm pouring on today is a vinyl LP record. So I'll be pouring onto that. The only thing I've done to prepare the record is on the back, I put a little piece of clear tape to plug the hole. So, but we don't need that for a bit yet. So hopefully I can edit this down so you don't have to be bored to tears with all of the paint mixing, but I thought I'd at least keep it on long enough to do one paint mix. So I'm going to get this out of my way so I have room to work. I need to mix some orange. What I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to use cool colors and hot colors together in a process that I've been intrigued with and working on. So I thought I'd at least show one paint mix. The paints I'm using are Creative Inspirations acrylic colors. This is Cadmium Orange. So I need to get it ready to pour. When it comes out of the bottle, it's very thick. So I can't use it that way. So what I have to do is thin it with a pouring medium. The pouring medium that I use is Floetrol by Flood. And it's a product that commercial painters use, like house painters and such. They use it to thin the paint down so it'll go through the nozzles of a spray painting machine. So I'm going to start with some acrylic orange. Well, that's great. My paint to Floetrol ratio is approximately 3 parts paint, 7 parts Floetrol. And I eyeball it. I don't measure it anymore. And even though the Floetrol is white, one might suppose that it would make the orange go light. But for whatever the magical properties of Floetrol are, you end up with a bigger volume of paint in the same color that you had in the first place. And what I like to do, I check for consistency and see how it is. I'm looking for a certain kind of effect. It's called a, well, I call it, I don't know if everybody does, but I call it a bounce. Basically, if the paint will drip off the stick and then kind of bounce back, it's at a good pouring consistency, and that is. So there's that video. One thing that I noticed as I reviewed the video, that the placement of the light made a shiny spot on the record and then on the wet paint as well. So next time I'll pay attention to that. Welcome back. I've got all my paint ready, and what I do after I mix them in cups, it depends on the process I'm going to use. But on the process I'm going to use today, it's very helpful to have the paints in little containers. So what these are just condiment bottles like you could get for putting ketchup and mustard and mayo, whatever, for a picnic. And I mix up the paint, then I put them in here. Sometimes to get nice cells, I use a drop of silicone in with the mix, but this time I'm choosing not to do that. So that's how that works. Okay, now the way this works is the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to put a puddle of paint on my record. And I could do that with the little nozzle, but since I'm going to cover the whole record, I'm not going to. It's literally just pouring a puddle. And I'm going to pour a couple smaller ones off to the side. And I'll end up having to add some more to that probably before we're done. Now the process, the technique I'm going to use is called an open cup. And I have just fallen in love with the way they turn out. And what I've really gotten into, the ones that people have admired the most, are the double flip cups, or double open cups, excuse me. And I just totally love that. So what I did here, just have a bathroom Dixie cup, and I just cut the bottom off of it, so I've got this that can just sit there. One thing I didn't show you, but that I did, is that I made sure that my record was level both ways, so hopefully things wouldn't just randomly slide off. And so these are containers that are going to, excuse me, manage the layers of paint. Because one of those cups is going to get layered and layered with cool colors, and the other cup is going to get layered and layered with warm colors. Or what I'm kind of calling this collection Fire and Ice, just because I like the sound of it. So just start by making a puddle in the cup. Oh, alternate colors. And I try to do both cups the same number of layers at a time instead of doing one whole cup and then the other one, because then they get ahead of each other. And I'd rather not do that. Starting with some darker blue. Then a lighter blue. And some turquoise. Going back over here now, I've got orange, red, and gold. And in the description below the video, there will be a supply list of the brands and whatnot that I used. All right, now it looks a little boring, but it's going to get exciting here in a little bit. And occasionally, I'll add some of the base color. I'll add a layer of the base color to the cups, and I think I'll do that this time. You can't see it, and unfortunately, I can't grab the camera and do anything to make it so I could zoom in on one area, because it's just me doing this. So I decided to use some post-production effects. I'm using the Ken Burns effect to zoom in on some areas, so hopefully you'll be able to see some of those cells as they begin to blossom through the black. But there are a few little dots starting to happen. I don't know if you can see at the angle and if the cups are in the way, but there's a few dots of blue starting to show here and a few dots of orange. And what's happening is that the paint inside the cup is heavy. And as I add layers, as I add weight, it pushes underneath the rim of the cup. And I'm going to give it some encouragement here in a bit. That was the cat in the window. Sometimes I give it a little encouragement. And you'll begin to see some of these guys just blossoming. And it's a really cool process. And sometimes I have to grab it and go, oh my goodness, it's running off the side. But you just never know. This is like the most expertly narrated how-to video ever, I'm sure. And this isn't necessarily a how-to. This is how I did it kind of video. Because I have been asked to provide that. So here we go. Now, I don't know how much of this next step you're going to be able to see, because I just don't. I never have had to worry about who can see what before. So what I'm going to do now, they're starting to make some interesting little things going on here. And I'm going to scoot both of those cups a little bit towards the middle. This one's going to go toward the middle and up, and this one's going to go toward the middle and down. So they're kind of going opposite of each other. I pick it up and then I push it back down. So I'm going to wait just a minute. As things are developing, you can see there's some nice cell action going on there and here. And now, the thing that I do that I don't know if other pourers do this, I started doing it just on a whim, and I liked what happened, so that's what I'm going to do now. Is I pick up the record, and I put my arm across both open cups to hold them down into the pool of paint. So I can pour and get the paint that's been coming out in different colors to move around in different places. Get closer to the edges. Because I still have paint trapped in the cups. So this is just me getting the paint to move around. And I didn't see anyone ever do that, but I thought, that might work. So that's what I decided to do. Put a little black around here. So as things start moving, there's plenty of places for it to go. And this side got almost all treated. And the thing about this that's really cool is these paints are self-leveling. You see there's a difference in the layers, but the viscosity of them, they will end up changing. End up evening out, so everything's at the same level. My biggest challenge with pouring on a record is getting the hole so it doesn't show. I don't think I've ever pulled it off, but it always ends up that I really like what it did, where it went. So I don't really stress about that too much. Now you can see over here in the hot color, in the fire colors, I've got some rings going on because I've picked up little paint out and put it back down. And that's just gonna be what happens until I roll the cup off. This one over here is about out, so I think I'm gonna add a little, which I sometimes do. Okie dokie. All right, now when I'm ready to get rid of the cup, I just roll it off. And I've been working this puddle in that direction, so I just roll it off in that way. And I'll take it and make it have a little swirl, because it all evens out. And so this one is going to get rolled off that side. I just stick them in the corner of the box. And so now we have this interesting pool in the middle. So I'm going to wait just a minute before I start rocking and rolling this thing. I don't know if you can see in the video, because I don't know how close you can see it. There's a bubble right there that's going to pop soon. And when it does, it'll show one of the colors underneath. Each time you see these other color dots, it means that an air bubble came up and popped. So I need to get the rest of this record covered. So, and I need to walk the paint, which is just what I call it. I need to walk it around, get it to move. And it's kind of a dance, because I want the paint to move, but if there's an area that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that so much, I don't want to lose it, I just have to really be careful. Like, I don't want to lose all of my fire color over there. And I may have to do an intervention, which is not at all rare. At least not in my practice. And you can see that those paints are sliding around. And when they slide, some of the cells that have been formed tend to stretch. And these are both going to need a little more paint. So, fine. I'll do that. Rescue the cup. Because I just need to make sure I've got enough fire. Not too worried about the ice part, but the fire is definitely got a problem. It's not got a problem, it's just not as much of it as I'd like to see. So there. And what this does is it just gives me a bigger pool of those fire colors to work with. I didn't do anything over here, but I'll do a little. Come on now. Sometimes I put silver in with the cool colors, but I didn't this time. Sometimes putting two metallic colors in the same pour can be weird, because the metallic colors just act differently. They just do. And managing one is fine, but trying to control and predict how in the world the metallics are going to work on two different color palettes is not something that's always easy. So that is all the paint that's going to be on there. So now we've got more paint to work with. At least I think with the way I framed this, that as long as I keep the record over the box, you guys should be able to see what I'm doing. Now see, I really love what's happening here. And this is super exciting, but it's not the end of the story here. You've got to get both sides rocking and rolling. Depends on what you're trying to preserve and what you don't mind sacrificing. Sometimes I end up with a great big river of one color of the base color in the middle. Sometimes it's almost non-existent. And I kind of just don't know which way it's going to roll. Quite literally. So, where's my paper towel? So now, I've got the paint, I've got it kind of moving around a little bit. And I think I need to move it a little more on the fire side now that I'm looking at it. Welcome to the way that a brain-injured brain works. It can be exciting, exhilarating, and weird. There, that's as much as I dare. Okay, now, so this is cool. I like how it's looking. I could leave it exactly like that, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is encourage the formation of cells. I've got some nice kind of big and medium-sized ones happening here on their own. But artist's best friend, culinary torch, like you use for creme brulee and that kind of thing. Not that I've ever done that, but that's what I hear. And by applying heat to the paint, it makes some of those air bubbles that are slowly happen sooner. And it will make all kinds of, can you see, like here in the orange, all those little guys that are happening. That's because the paint gets warm and the little air bubbles that were trapped underneath come to the surface. And like these big areas of black, they do have other colors underneath. And so that's why I tease it a little. But I have to be careful because you can totally scorch the paint, which is not the end of all things, but I'd rather not. And I like to play with the edges of this river in the middle because I can see, like here, there's another color under there. But I have to be careful not to get too close or I'll scorch the paint. So it may or may not come out. Now, what do we got going on the cool side? Okay, there's a lot of turquoise bubbles blooming. I don't know if you all can see that. Like a big crowd just happened right over there. Got to make sure that I don't have the flame on the paint while I'm talking to you, pointing at things. And if you look at here in the black, when I go back in there, more little tiny bubbles happen. Oh, and there's a bunch that bloomed there. And I just work it. It's like, okay, I know you're in there because I know what colors are there. So I just work at teasing them. Got a whole bunch of little baby cells that happen there. And sometimes after I torch, I'll pick it up and rock it some more, but I don't think I'm going to on this because there's so much awesomeness happening on this piece that I don't want, there's nothing I'm really willing to sacrifice. So I'm just going to work what I've got, see if I can tease some other things up. See, we got a little bit of orange happening there. I know you're in there. And this is precisely how it goes when I'm just pouring and not videotaping. Talking to the paint, encouraging it. Come on, I know you're in there. And here you go. That's nice. And I don't know if you can tell how the metallic really like sets off the other colors. And the metallic makes a different kind of edge around the cell than non-metallic paint does. And I just really like it. I totally dig the metallics. Sometimes if I just kind of keep a constant up high enough so it's not going to burn it, heat going on, get a little encouragement going. But this little part here is just going, you know, I didn't really want to do that. And so, well, I guess it really won't. I'll walk around over here some more. Oh, there we go. You see these blooming all along that edge. Oh, wow. That's amazing. And this, my friends, has been my #1 coping strategy for COVID-19 quarantine isolation. I'm an extrovert, and being kind of cooped up by myself for long periods of time is not my favorite thing. And so having things like this that I can do that take me away from that, because when I'm painting, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not worried about, oh my gosh, what are the Marshall County COVID numbers looking like, any of that stuff. I'm not thinking about that. I just mentioned it, but when I'm just here painting, I'm in the zone and I'm just painting. I don't pay attention to time, which can or can't be a good thing. So turning that off, and now I'm just going to look at it a little. I may, if you got a little smoke going on there, I may pick it up and try to move it. Like I said, I wasn't going to, but I might. I'll do that a little and see what that seems like it's going to do to the paint. And if it seems like it's going to make a sacrifice of something I really want, then I'll stop. And one thing with all the torching, the paint being warm is thinner now and it will flow better. And some parts of it are going to be like, yeah, we're here and we're not moving. But you can see the cool part is on the move. The fire part is a bit, and that was the part I really wanted to get some more of into the center. So we'll see what happens. I wish I could make a little gate or something so the cools would stay where they are and the and sometimes I just roll it. So it is kind of going all different ways at the same time. And that makes some waves and such happen. And I am going to stop tilting it because I don't want to lose any more of this greatness that's going on in the cool colors. And I don't want to lose any of my fire. So there's that. And I think I might torch a little more. One thing I like that's going on right here kind of looks like the Northern Lights to me. Whether it does to anyone else. So I'm going to tease that a little bit, and the torch is about out of gas. And I'll tell you, this is really fun to do this standing up, looking down through bifocals. It's very fun. So, yes, an acrylic pour of this nature equals paint, a vinyl record, Floetrol, and the artist's best friend, a butane torch. Some people also use electric heat guns, and I do have one, but it's got a cord, so it's awkward. Some people have an air gun that they'll put the air right here at this, like at the edge, and it'll but it doesn't just push it like it is. It like each color rolls over the other. So I'm not super excited about doing that. I do want to see if I can do anything with that one little stray red thing, because not knowing when to stop is my number one thing. At least I'm self-aware, right? That red streak says, you know what? I'm happy here. I'm just going to stay here, so get over yourself. Northern Lights are just going to stay like they are. Torch is running out of gas. So there you have it. That's the pour process. This will take probably 2 days to dry in the humidity that we have right now. If I used to pour, when I first started doing round pours, I poured on a 11 3/4 inch diameter wood round. And they take a little longer to dry. They suck up some more paint, and so the paint is thinner, and you have to really be careful that you don't lose some of the paint that you wanted to be able to move around. So I really like the records for many reasons. One thing is I really like to repurpose and everything. I can buy the wood rounds, and they're not that expensive, but I go to the local record store, thank you Karma in Plymouth, Indiana, and you can buy used LPs, used ones. They do have some used ones that are like in really great condition and high demand that they sell, and that's great. But then they have a whole great big area that's the 25-cent bin. And depending on who's minding the store, when I go there, sometimes I pay $0.25 per record, and sometimes I don't pay anything. This particular one was some kind of a symphony piece, which I did not look at and pay attention to what it was. But often when I go there, they'll have these classical music collections that are like in a book, and you turn the pages and each book has a sleeve, and so maybe in this book of classical music there's, I don't know, 6 to 8 records. And so I grab those because it's easy to transport them and easy to keep them without getting broken and whatnot. So that's just kind of how the pour process goes. I'll edit this down so hopefully it makes some more sense, but right now that's where we are. This picture was taken the morning after the pour. This piece is still quite wet, but you can see differences in where the cells were and how developed they were and how they look now. So I will close here with a few final notes. When this is fully dry, I will seal it with polyacrylic. I buy the gloss variety of polyacrylic. And when the polyacrylic dries, which takes about 2 hours, it will have a just poured shine to it. It will be very glossy. And that's how I want it to look. I want this just poured finish. So this is how it looks now. And it probably won't change a whole lot while it dries, but it may. I thought I would say a few words about the paints that I use and my pouring medium. My pouring medium is Floetrol by the Flood brand. That's able to be purchased at Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's probably. I tend to get it at Menards because they're the only ones that I have found that consistently carry it in the gallon, which is more economical than buying it by the quart. So that's my pouring medium. My paints are a mix. The base coat that I put down, the black puddle that I put down first, is Creative Inspirations Lamp Black. Now the warm or fire colors that I used were Creative Inspirations Metallic Gold, Cadmium Orange, and Crimson. The cool colors that I used were Creative Inspirations Phthalo Blue, and then the medium color blue, I took the Creative Inspirations Phthalo Blue and mixed it with Creative Inspirations Titanium White to get a lighter shade of blue. And then I also used Anita's all-purpose acrylics. It's more of a craft paint, but they work just as well. And it's the light turquoise color. So those were the colors I used together to do this pour. I will list my materials in the video description. Thank you for watching the premiere video on Designs by Lynn's brand new YouTube channel. Thank you for putting up with the glitchiness of the video due to my awesome setup and the fact that I was doing this on my own. I didn't have a person to help with lights and stuff. And I've learned a few things through this process of not only of making the pour, but of putting this video together has shown me some things I need to do better for setup when I do my next video. So please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, and you will know when new content is uploaded. Have an amazing day. If you ask me what I came to do in the world, I, an artist, will answer you. I am here to live out loud. A quote by Emile Zola.